Greetings, fellow Salt and Sassers, and welcome to another video on solo RPGs. Today I want to talk to you about Cartograph, which is a wonderful solo role-playing game by Brendan Lee, who was kind enough to send me a review copy of this game. I want to preface this by saying, despite the fact that this game was provided to me for free, everything that will follow is my very own opinion. I don't usually take review copies of games when they are offered, mostly because I don't like to mix business and pleasure. I don't like the pressure of having to review something. But when Brandon sent the press kit for this game, I couldn't help but take a look because I don't know when this came on Kickstarter and I completely missed it. But I was so excited that I made an exception to my usual and said, no, I'll take a copy. And so here it is before you. Again, for full disclosure, I plan on giving this copy to Mandy once I'm done with this video, so that she can also hopefully play with it, also review it on the podcast if she's so inclined. So again, this was, I happened to get to play this game for free. This doesn't change my opinion, which I want to preface with because this may have a lot of gushing upcoming, and I want to distance one from the other. So, Cartograph, Atlas Edition. Indie game by Brendan Lee, funded through Kickstarter. Wonderful little hardcover book. And I say little because it's not, the usual, A5, I guess, standard size. But man, there is a lots of game in here. This is an incredible production, a very, very nice game, which actually the author themselves describe as solo journaling RPG about map making, exploration, world building, and resource management. And that is, unsurprisingly I suppose, an incredibly apt descriptor. This game does exploration. I'm going to draw a comparison with other games now. Not that this shouldn't be seen on its own level, but for those of you who've watched my videos before, I quite enjoy Colossal for exploration. Well, this does exploration as well as Colossal. I absolutely adore this and Colossal for the exploration. World building, map making is cool. The resource management is also a very nice touch. It adds a bit more gameplay element than, for example, in Colossal. And in that way, it kind of reminds me a bit of Apothecaria. When you have a journaling game, but there's also mechanics underneath it, this is the same kind of balance I find. So it's interesting a bit from me, thinking perspective as well as a creative one. So a very good game also for beginners and, experts alike, but insofar as this game comes with a ton of table, you need absolutely no supplements to play this. If you just have this game and that's the entirety of your RPG collection, you have every explanation you need. It is very well broken down. You have all the tools you need to run it. It's great. So, said this, what you need to play, you need a pile of dice in 3 different colors, because you're going to be rolling them and they will be representing different things on the map. So the author recommends 4 of each, which in this case I guess I don't totally have. Let me fix that up. There we go. Perfect balance. You need a pen and a paper because in this game we will be drawing a map. So you need a piece of paper, pen. Eraser is also recommended because sometimes you will end up shifting things around because maybe your solo mountain will turn into a mountain range. And it's possible that your lake will slowly morph into a river. So, highly recommend something erasable. You will also need a deck of cards to be able to draw the actual prompts of the location as you draw them. So, setup is very simple. You start with 1 landmark die, 3 biome dimes. So, landmark die represents usually towns, settlements, cities, and what they call discovery, which is sort of bonus location, something cool, something unique, very neat. These are more, I'll say natural environment, lakes, rivers, grasslands, that sort of thing. So this forms your initial dice pool, which you will have to manage throughout the game because if you run out of dice to roll, that's one of the ways you can actually lose the game. Or not really lose, but your game comes to an end and it's kind of drab because you didn't finish your exploration. Basically, I suppose thematically, your cartographer runs out of steam and just decides to just quit the whole map drawing thing. The cartographer, here let me show you the cartographer sheet. Name, pronoun, specialization, value, disposition, reputation as gameplay element that affects the cost of items in town. Coins you can keep track of also, lets you take some action, lets you converse with people, and of course buy items in town. Wares or items you can trade. There's a maximum. I think the default is 5. If you find the right items, you end up being able to carry more. And there's food also, which again lets you travel further or lets you heal. So it's used for, and this other gameplay element, also some prompts may cause you to lose any of this based on what happens as part of your journey. The items here will give you special bonuses throughout the game. And wounds, technically you can take 3 of them before you basically die. There are ways to heal in town, to rest, that sort of thing, but this way you keep track. And we have jokers draw down here, which is also important because if you draw a black joker 3 times or a red joker 3 times is another way that you can lose the game. So there is built-in duration to this game. I'll skip ahead just for a minute here. Game ends. Take a wound, you have no slot. 3rd joker is drawn, run out of dice. That's a negative end. Or you name 10 locations on your map and you have 1 completed coastline. And you can play with the duration of the game. You know, you can make it shorter or longer. I went with the recommended 10. And that took me a couple hours. I didn't actually time myself, to be honest, and I did it in 2 sittings, which this game is great for that, because in between the fact that, here, I'll show you the map that I drew in my game. In between the fact that and don't judge my art skills, I realize I have none, but because you're drawing a map and you're keeping track of your journey with this little dotted line here, it's really easy to pick up where you were. And then you keep track of what your dice pool was at when you left, and you're good to go because, again, all of the gameplay elements are tracked in your character sheet. So it's a really good one to, you can do a round or 2, you can do 5. I mean, if you have like an entire afternoon or evening, maybe you can play a whole game. But I mean, there is also, whatever, play by ear. You know you. So we would start the game with 1 food, 1 ware. Ware, again, is a tradable good. And this game, which for the record, did I mention, has a table for everything, provides you with a table to help inspire you. So the first one is, again, when we create the background, maybe you imagine that the place you come from would have a lot of a certain thing, so you can bring that in. But when you pick up wares in other places, I like to roll on this to give me an idea of what it is. And then I draw on the prompt of my location to sort of fill in the blank. So it was a die, like what color of die? What is it made from? And tie it in with the generic thematic part. Same with currency. Coins is used to basically represent currency, but maybe you receive seashell from some people. Maybe it was seed, a knotted string, that sort of thing. So another thing this game does good is actually gives a lot of, imaginative support. Because sometimes it's hard when you're self-generating a story to be able to imagine everything. Same thing with the people table, like you encounter people. What are their traits, the descriptor? Are they horn, hairless, muscular, enhanced, mountless? What's their focus? Are they farmer or custodian, hunters or industrialists? What's their elaborated traits? So sometimes it comes naturally from the flow of the game. Sometimes you need a little spark, a little something. Well, this game's got you covered through its tables. But to scroll back, we begin 1 food, 1 ware, 1 coin, reputation at 0, and we choose name and pronoun. And again, you can go with basically the name or pronouns you like to use all the time. You can roll for it. Values and disposition, same thing. You could be cynical, jovial, grumpy, unimpressed. You can roll for it. You can pick. You can come up with something that's not on this table. These things are basically narrative impact. So these you just follow your heart. Specialization, however, does have a gameplay element. So it's okay if you don't want to roll for it. You can pick, but do try to stick with the associated bonus. It is thematically linked. So a scientist would start with more coins. A explorer will have more temporary dice. A doctor would have an extra wound slot because, they can take more wounds. And then we step into the background, which helps, again, develop the background of your character, which will help you sort of guide their actions and their sort of tone as you write. The line I came from was thriving but isolated. And I decided to leave because I'm looking for someone lost in this new land, but I left behind a substantial debt. So it kind of worked out for me. Maybe I'm also hoping to make a bit of money while I'm here to make up for it. Some characteristics, again, you can draw from these. You can make your own if you have a physical appearance you particularly fancy. And then we begin the opening scene. You arrive to this land through a mysterious portal. The journey was filled with glorious sight. And what were those? So Again, this is not meant to be like a write a novel kind of game. At numerous points in this book said a sentence or two, no more. Otherwise, it'll slow down your game. So just jot down quickly so that you sort of remember it. But that's it. Now, I'm not going to obviously read the whole game to you, but it walks you through everything. It actually shows you how to draw things on your map, which is cool, especially if you're, me and you are not artistically located. This is a good way to start. Then it walks you through the journal and how to prompt, how to end the game, how to manage the game, some principles of play, which is nice actually because it says intuition first. And it's basically suggesting don't ignore a die, but if it doesn't roll logically, like for example, say that I was on this map and I'm rolling, it's a bit much, but now I've got a grassland on top of my city. That doesn't make sense. So I say that dice actually rolled a bit more that way. Maybe this discovery is going to go over here. So you can kind of shift them around because maybe you don't want something that's smack in the middle of the ocean. Doesn't make sense. So I do try to limit the area of my dice through like sort of my hand. And after that, I have shifted to fill the map tighter, but that's preference. But, intuition first, embody your cartographer. So when you tell those two sentences you're writing, write them sort of in the voice of your character. And it is set in a loose fantasy setting. Magic doesn't have to exist, but it wouldn't be surprising if it did. Now, the author again walks you through how to deal with different scenarios, walks you through a very detailed cycle of play, how to deal with jokers, and then there's a very good example of play. So again, this is a very solid sort of game. Like I would find it difficult to believe that someone would get this game and not be able to find an answer to the question they were seeking, or couldn't understand the flow of the game in between all of this. The game also provides some gameplay options, which I didn't pursue, one of them being multiplayer, which is not what I do. There's the non-authoring mode. So if you're really, really journaling adverse, how to manage things through skill tests, how to make a skill test, the outcomes. Again, there's some oracles to go with that. Or a peaceful mode, which removes the jokers, the wounds, that sort of thing. So you can also not lose a die at the end of each turn. So it also sort of removes the tension, I would call it, from the resource management aspect of the game. Personally, I found this game perfect the way it was designed. It hits all the things that I love. So I didn't test any of these. I did not, but they're there though. So if, anything I'm covering, say, I would love this game except for that one thing. Well, there's probably gameplay options available to you in here that would solve this, including, in fact, the team. So the author tells you how to hack this game to a different setting. So you want to do this in space. Here's how you do it. So again, complete push. But I'll stop gushing about how the game is built and how awesome it is and how many journaling tables there are in here, which there are so many tables. It's so amazing. And I'll show you how to play. So we'll just do a quick turn. So it is the very first turn of the game. Actually, here, I'll use the rules reference at the same time in case there's some visual people here. So step one, roll your dice pool onto your map. We're rolling. All right. So again, it's a bit spread out, so maybe I'll just start my map a little tighter. That was a 6 you side, right? All right, here we go. So then we look at the exploration table. The pink one is a landmark die. It is a 4, which makes it a city. And if we look here, they recommend we draw a city as a big old dot. So we'll make it big old dots. And because it is a landmark, it gets a coastline. So this here is the ocean. In case that's not clear, we'll just put a fish in it. So now you know. So that's my city. And next to my city, we have a 5, which is same as closest biome, a 6, which is same as closest biome, and a 1, which is a forest. So what we have here is the world's largest forest. And sorry, I'm drawing a forest the way I would draw a forest, which is, perhaps not the prettiest way to do it, but here we go. And again, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be super exact. That the idea is just to represent this so that I know that this is not a small forest because it was a 3 dice forest. Here we go. Go like that. Here we go. And that's it. Then we have drawn all of this. This is the map where we are. I really don't like this way of drawing a city. That's why I was drawing like a little castle. Anyway, then we choose a location on the map. If not the closest, lose 1 food. Again, this is the first round. So we probably land a city. That makes sense to me. I would have traveled by boat, get to the city. And we would draw a dash also for moving. Not relevant for the first turn. We draw a card. It is a King of Clubs. So we go to the journey table and we go King. You were escorted on your journey by helpful people. Why did they help you? Gain 1 coin or 1 reputation. So again, I was here, I think I had read because I'm looking for someone who's lost. So maybe they also like this person who's lost in this faraway land. So they gave me a hand, and that's it. They gave me 1 coin to get me started on my journey. So I would keep track of that up here. My coins, I would now have 2 because I started with 1. And that would be my journey prompt. So I just say like, the boat ride went great. I'm glad I had the support of missing person's, family member who's a well-known seafarer. Even shared some money with me to try to facilitate the journey. After that, we would consult the location table. So to do this, we would look at the kind of location we're in, which is a city. So we would go to the city. Mountain, forest prompts, discovery prompt, city. And it is a black city because it is clubs. So black city prompt is king. A city built upon the ruin of old. What history do you learn here? What structures dot the surrounds? Mark 1 ruin near this location and gain 1 reputation for each marked ruin. So we're just gonna go beep, boom. Here we go. And here we are. So we did this. And so now we could say that, this town has been established, for a long time as a trading post. Has grown to exceed, serves many different locations. Perhaps they do import and exports. I'm running through this fast now. And we get 1 location for 1 ruined. So maybe this ruin, by the way, becomes a place we can visit later. And then after that, we consult the location and we name the locations. Now we have to name this city because again, endgame condition is 10 named locations. So what is this town called? Now, watching my video, you know that I am terrible at names. So the fact that they have such a thing as a city name generator fills me with joy. So you run 3 dice, 6, 10. It is called tens, 10, 14, tens, Tensgard. We land in Tensgard. Here we go. And this is the city. Now that we have done the arrival phase, we do the rest phase. So we would lose all temporary die. Now in this case, we didn't have any. We will remember that a dice pool was this. So the first thing we do is that we lose 1 die. So because I only have 1 landmark die, I usually tend to protect it and lose a biome die. If I'm a settlement, I would roll 1d3 to determine the ware's value. So again, I started with 1 ware. If I roll this, and you divide it by half, so this 1 value is 3. So this is really good, actually. So I could sell wares here, get some coins, that's awesome. And perform 2 different rest actions from the location. So there's some you can do in settlements, there's some you can do in wilderness. We're currently in a settlement, so I could converse. I could use 1 of my coin, get a temporary die. By the way, I didn't say a temporary die. Obviously, you only roll 1, so it doesn't stay in your pool. But it can either be a location or a biome die. So it's pretty cool in that based on number you roll, you can decide what you want to do with it. Sleep, you gain 1 biome die. You may choose to lose 1 food or gain 1 extra die. Sorry, you may choose to lose 1 food to gain 1 extra die. So I probably wouldn't do that right now because, who wants to do that? Heal, don't have to do, but you lose a coin, you remove 1 wound. Restock, you gain 1 food or 1 ware. Sell, you would sell something. Shop is cool. Actually, I'll demonstrate shop. I probably wouldn't do it this early in the game because shopping can be expensive. But when you're shopping, you basically would roll, expose 3 cards. 2, 3. Go. Then you would roll dice for each card, which will set the price of the items. That's 3 coin. 3 coin. And 2 coins, so it's fairly affordable actually. And then we would look at the item table to see what these things are. And then I can choose to buy 1 of them if I want. So, for example, this is a black item table, so this would be a strange weapon. Gain 3 temporary die when I draw a joker. So this could be cool. 3 temporary dice when I draw a joker. Pretty neat. This is a red 4. It's an assistant. Once per turn, I may pay 1 coin to extend a coastline or name a location. So that would basically be an assistant doing some exploration for me. Or a 7 here. Camping equipment. I gain 1 extra dice when I'm camping. That's very cool, actually. I probably would change this one, not just because it's the cheapest, but because it's actually pretty cool. So there is a lot of option here. And they do say that they left the name fairly generic, like armor or animal mount, but that they encourage you to sort of give more descriptor to what that mount or that equipment is, just to like, you know, flesh it out a little bit based on where you bought it, that sort of thing. So, for example, that would be item shopping. And those would be the actions. I would choose 2 of these actions on my turn, and that would be it. So now, now because on my rest phase, I lose 1 remaining dice. That means my pool now looks like this. I probably would have done something to get that back. So say that what did I do? Yeah, I would have slept probably. So I'll get a biome die back. And say that I went shopping actually, and I used my 2 coins to get that camping equipment. I would write it here. That would be my turn. And then we would restart. So again, my pool is still 4 die, yay for me. We would roll, go like this. Now again, I might rearrange things, but 6 would be continuation of that forest. 4 and 4 would be open land. So that would be a large section of plains would go over here. Large sections of land. 5 is just a little settlement. So I'll probably move it here so that I can extend the coastline a little bit more logically like this. There we go. 6 is more trees. There we go. I think this should be a pretty big open land because there's 2 dice worth of it. And here we are. So then I get to choose. Do I want to visit those ruined I mark? Do I want to visit this forest or the grassland? These are all adjacent, so they would cost me no food. If I want to jump right to this settlement, I'd have to pay 1 food to do it. Anyway, at this point, I probably want to spend the night in the wilderness because one of those rest actions will be hunting, which will let me generate food. So that would be good. And then I could also gain some biome dice, you know, that sort of stuff. So that's sort of how I play. So I would draw a dashed line from here to say here. And then I would draw the journey prompt to cover how the journey went. I'll just do this super quick. I won't mark the whole thing just so you can see. Your travel was slowed by outside force. What was the cause of this delay? Lose 1 food. So maybe it was raining and very windy from the coast, and I blew sand in my eyes, kind of got disoriented, but I finally made it. Now I have a grassland prompt or a flatland prompt, open land prompt. Sorry, it's probably not the right way to say it. Give me a moment. Open land, black 4. A corruption has maligned a once serene meadow. How has the wildlife changed? What people work here to cleanse the earth? I would gain 1 reputation. I may want to describe the people using the people table. And I would just do this. Again, I would keep the 1 reputation marked up. And that would be this. And then I would go on to the rest phase. And then because I'm in the wilderness, I could lose 1 food to get a biome die. I would again lose a die. So I'd have some pressure to find another one. I'd probably go hunting because then you basically roll a die, gain 4 food. It does cost you a dice though, but you know. And here does the game go. And then I would name the location and I would have to name location. Sorry, this went a little further. Again, I get really, really excited in exploration game because I love it. I love to explore things even if they're not real or they're just in my head. Again, love this game. It is a very complete package. Again, because a full game is naming 10 locations, that means that technically you will use 10 prompts from, encampments, in between encampments, towns, cities, discoveries, forest, mountain, lake, open land. So basically in one game, I have seen a fraction of the content of this game. So this is one that, it's not like a small zine that you play and you've seen it. This is a game that's meant to have you draw maps more than one time. Again, using maps if you so choose for other purposes. Personally, I just find it very cool to discover a world that didn't exist until I ran into this book. It is beautiful. It is solid. Love, 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 love. Highly recommend if you are like exploration, if you like a good mix of journaling that does not turn into novel writing and a little bit of mechanic again, because you do have to manage those dice and the attrition of them. And I'm like, okay, I really need to hunt to get foods that when I rest, I can gain rest into a settlement, then I can gain an extra die, that sort of thing. So highly recommend. If you have any question, as usual, ask them in the question below. I'll give you a link to where to find the game if you're so interested. Oh, and before anyone asks, this is the deck from Beth Sobel. It is River and Stone. It is beautiful. It is awesome. Highly recommend if you can track it down. And on that note, I wish you a very happy day.